We would like to welcome you to another edition of the African American Media Network's programming on this channel. What we are going to be taking you to today on this broadcast is the 20th annual conference program of counseling and treating people of color, an international perspective. It was held in Punta Cana, the Dominican Republic from November 29th to December the 3rd of 2006. It was held at the Barcelo Bavaro Beach Resort Palace Hotel in the Convention Center in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. It has been sponsored by the Human Resources Development Institute, Incorporated out of Chicago, Peggy J. Lubin, PhD, Chairperson, Board of Directors, Tara Thomas, PhD, President and CEO, as well as Stony Brook University, Stony Brook, New York, Shirley Strom Kinney, PhD, University President, Richard N. Fine, MD, Dean of School of Medicine, Stony Brook University Medical Center, Francis L. Brisbane, PhD, Dean of the School of Social Welfare, Craig Lehman, PhD, Dean of the School of Health, Technology, and Management, the host sponsor, Secretaria de Estado de Turismo, Santo Domingo, Republican Dominicana. Licensed Felix Jimenez. So, what we want you to do is sit back and relax. And in case you didn't know, Santo Domingo is where Christopher Columbus started the Blach Holocaust in the Americas, as well as creating the divisions of skin color, creating the skin color class system that we all are victim of today. You know, if you're white, you're right. If you're black, get black. If you're brown, stick around. You know, he is the one who created the classism due to the hue of your skin color. Now, let us take you to Punta Cana, the Dominican Republic, counseling and treating people of color, an international perspective. Now, currently we are at Punta Cana at the Barcelo Beach Resort poolside. And what strikes me is that this island is the island where Christopher Columbus, the one who started the Blach Holocaust, this is the island where he first landed on. And it is a beautiful island. They call it paradise. It most certainly is paradise. And I'm enjoying my stay here, but we're observing and we're here to get a story at the People of Color Conference by the Humanities Office in Stony Brook under Mrs. Professor Brisbane. So we're going to get the story for you. Now let me show you how beautiful it is.
Take the Nassau County Police Test. Call 1-800-RECRUIT for more information.
At the People of Colors Conference in the Dominican Republic. And I'm eating breakfast and pineapple, French toast, and eggs. I've been watching a lot of television since I got here, and there are a lot of there's not a lot of people of color on television here, so I'm wondering about that. But the conference is going great. There are a lot of thinkers and intellectuals here from across the United States who are going to have this culminate in initiatives, ideas to better, I guess, enhance the quality of life of people of color in America and abroad. I'm waiting to get my clearance today to go inside and film because I didn't bring any release forms for people to be on the tape. So today, hopefully, we'll get that done and we'll start bringing you a lot of people who are speaking at this 4-day event. Colors Conference, and you know who this is. All the years, I finally got her up close on the show. Hazel Deuce.
Thank you very much. I've never met you at people of color conferences, so that's why we're not connected.
Well, no, we're from Long Island, New York, and we
Yes.
have heard of your exploits, but we have never been able to catch you on our show locally.
Okay.
We had to come all the way to the Dominican Republic to catch you.
Well, that's not quite true, but we are here, and it's exciting, I believe. This is my 7th conference, and each time I come, I learn about different cultures and enjoy the scenery of the different countries.
Now, out of those 7 years, what are some of your fondest memories of the invigorating aspect of this conference that helps you in your fight for justice for people of color?
Well, I hear from other people that not African Americans, different persuasions, the Chinese and Asians, of their desire for equal health and education and those matters. And we exchange ideas on how we what techniques we use, different cultures and different languages. But when it comes down to all of the same
Well, let me ask you something. We always talk about in the music industry, we talk about the old school
Right.
in the music.
Yes.
You know, because the hip hop is very dirty now, the word.
Right.
But the old school is good.
Right.
So now I'm going to ask you about the old school civil rights, like the boycotts. Do we need to go back to the old school in civil rights?
In some instances, yes. Economics is our civil rights value today. And I think we have to learn how to use our economic power. African Americans have a lot of economic power. We are the biggest consumers. We have to learn how to maximize that strength to get people not just to receive our money, but to respect us. So that tool was used and it must come back into play.
So you think we need to get that old school back?
That part of the old school back.
Now, as far as the hip hop generation I brought up earlier, what would you tell these guys who at the multinational companies that pay these kids to say that film? What do we need to do to them?
I think we heard it tonight from Allison, and we heard it from our parents. We have to teach our children. Multi-million, the industry is not going to teach our children. They are making money from it. It's nothing to parents, number one, first at home. As Allison said, parents have to be responsible for their children. You have to rear your children in the right that they can be used at this time, not used at
Spare the rap, spoil the child?
Well, I don't believe that you spare the rod. I think you use the rod to raise the child.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thanks a lot. For those of you out there who basically thought you had an audio problem, what Hazel Duke basically said when I asked her, does she think that old school tactics for civil rights need to be reintroduced in as much as boycotts and protests? She said, yes, we need to reintroduce those strategies in our fight for our liberation. She also indicated that the biggest civil rights situation right now is an economic situation for making people respect our rights if we utilize our economic power. She also indicated that instead of letting those people who our children listen to in the music industry, she said that parents need to be role models to their children. For those of you who could not hear through the hustle and the bustle of the crowd. Now, let's get back to the show.
You're supposed to sit in that seat. These seats are empty because somebody may come or they may not come. You're right there, Felix, because you're supposed to be there. You know how some things happen, you says, wow, how did they find out, or how did this person know? I think there's a spiritual being, I think God, not trying to be politically correct here, God has a way of positioning and putting people in your life at the right place at the right time so that you can grow and learn and further develop to be all that you can be. There's no rhyme, no reason that you may be the only Caucasian female in the group. There's so much that they can learn from you, you can learn from them. You're supposed to be here. And I'm supposed to be here to talk to you, to look at you, and you to look at me, because there's something, I'm sure, in this interaction that we're going to get from each other. And I think that's the beauty of living and just life itself. And
So about the money you just raised in Leadership 500.
follow leadership. Being in an organization, it's rough. It's rough growing up in an organization. I think Allison is probably me in the NAACP in this conference for 20 years, the baby of the group. Everybody knows your name, and they're expecting great things out of Allison. You heard that on the first night. And she is like the sister, the child everybody wants to have a hold of because they're so proud of her. Allison had the opportunity to call me for something. I was able to try to help her as well because I know when I saw, oh, Allison, But I then tried to develop within our organization this kind of next generation of leaders. As Allison said on that first night, you all will be the leaders that carry on the legacy of.
Now, what you're watching is the rap session going on with the youth division of Stony Brook. This was the youth that came to the trip to Punta Cana, and their rap session with, once again, Sister Hazel Dukes.
Started families, and you kind of drift away from things. And we really wanted to do something because we were too old to be in the youth group and too young to be with the folks that was above us and Miss Duke's crowd. And so we wanted our own place in the sun. And Miss Dukes, we went to her and said, we need help. Can you help us get a meeting with the then chairman of the board, Mary Evans Williams? You know who she is? She's the wife of the late civil rights leader, Medgar Evers Williams from Mississippi, actually. And so we had a meeting with Ms. Evers, and she sat with us and she said, I'm very, very supportive of young people and what they're doing. Ms. Dukes
On the edge of the 40s in Miss Roslyn said she was 35 when she first was nominated. People were in awe. I had young people calling me up, Mama Dukes, how in the world did that happen? And it happened when she said, Bishop Grace has watched her and came to me and said to me what he was going to do. And he said to me, in the political arena, which I've been in for a long time, listen to that. Let me tell you, I was born in Montgomery, Alabama. My mother was really a saint. My mother moved with God and think that I'm out of my mind. She says to Francis, she was dying. Please take care of her. Please take care of her. My dad was a poor man. I got all of my zest and zeal to make America better and turn over for myself in his own way. Being put in the union, for the rights of people. That was really something, to somebody talking about. And everywhere my dad went, I was with him. I was a daddy's kind of child, because my mother was quiet. She wanted to make the rolls and smell east all over the place, have the 3 meals and all that good stuff. And that was good. But for me, it was something early on in my life. When I was 6 years old, my mother and my father went to Crest. That was a store in Montgomery, Alabama. And fingernail polish was 11 cents, a dime and a penny. So I went in this store with my mother. Well, no, let me go back to my shoes. Buster Brown shoes when we went to in the South to get shoes. They would put your feet. They had it was like a camera to measure you for white people wouldn't measure. You had to go and stand up on the thing that they would look down on your feet and would tell you how long the shoe should be and why. So the man brought these shoes out, little Black Panther shoes, and they really wasn't my size, but I liked the shoes. So my mother said, no, that's not the size of shoe for you. I screamed and hollered and ran out the door. They standing and had to catch me, get the shoes. And the gentleman came out too, because there was his shoe store. And I turned around and I said to him, listen, white man, don't you put your hands on me. And a voice that my mother had never heard, and the venom that I had, and he would say that to me. The second experience with my parents was in this store. The fingernail polish was 11 cents. I had a dime and a penny. When I went to give the woman the money, she didn't want me to touch her hand. So my penny fell. The dime went where she could get it. Penny fell down in a place that you had to go out and get it. And she said to me, nigga, pick that penny up. My mother was with me. I said, you want that penny? You will pick it up yourself. And guess what? I didn't pick that penny up. Walked out with my penny. I've been a little terror. All of my life. Nobody understand where it came from, why I got in this mood of, I was going to conquer the world early on. I got involved in NAACP. I was a part of the radical movement. We had a convention in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And there was a group, Felix probably might remember the name. He died a couple of years, Dr. Eugene T. Reed. He was a dentist. Dr. Reed was a rebel in the NAACP. They formed a group that was named the Young Turks. So I was a part of the Young Turks. After Medgar Evers was killed, we went to Chicago. And the hotel we stayed in, when we got there, these things was covered up. Everybody just went in and out. Finally, one of the youth went out and he wanted to see what the kids and nosy. And what was at this hotel was the men coach, dressed up in red and black faces at the hotel. The 2 statues were there, covered them up as we were coming. There was a minister, this minister, chairman of the Baptist, president of the Baptist Ministers Conference. Daley was the governor, the mayor. And the NAACP was going to have a march because Medgar had got killed in June, and we was in Chicago in July. Because all the segregation in Chicago, we marched in the street.
Take the Nassau County Police Test. Call 1-800-RECRUIT for more information.
Really ask yourself questions about yourself and your health. How empowered are you? Are you in charge of it? What are you doing every day to make it better? Okay? The data are staggering. I'm just going to go through this real quickly because you know this, but you know that our U.S. life expectancy is terrible compared to what we spend on healthcare. $1.9 trillion to get these kind of results. We're 19th in the world for women, 26th in the world for men. And this is what it looks like. These are the disparities. I know you see these charts over and over and over. The red line is African Americans. I'm just going to say this once, so remember. The yellow line, Caucasian. The gray line, American Indian, Alaska Native. The green line, Latino, Blue, Asian American. We talk about the disparity between the African Americans and Caucasian. I want you to look at the disparity between African Americans and the Asians. That's the disparity I want to eliminate. Okay, I've shared with you before. I had this Asian science therapist who I watched like a hawk. I watched everything this woman does. Here it is for women. Okay? But you just need to know that the disparities in these outcomes and life expectancy are huge. They can be huge depending on how you look at the data. Dr. Chris Murray from Harvard has divided up the nation in groups depending on life expectancy. From the best Asian women, who all of you know that Japan is #1 in the world in terms of life expectancy. Okay, and Asian women live longer than anybody in the world. Many, well, they still in the United States, they do too, they're #1 in terms of life expectancy. But that is decreasing, as you know, so as long as everybody that comes to our country gets sicker instead of well. Okay, you do know that. But anyway, the best Asian women, the worst are urban African American men. So that was heart disease, cancer, and stroke. Here it is for diabetes. The line shows our 2010 goal. I think we're still very far from that. But it's not just our physical health, our mental health is in trouble. It's a CDC study looking at negative mood, stress, depression, anger, anxiety, panic attacks. The green bar are Caucasian men. The red bar, African American women. Caucasian men do best. African American women do worse. This is very important because the mind-body connection is very powerful, and we in this nation do not pay enough attention to that. We have our physical health over here, our mental health facilities over here, our church back here. Come on now. And in your lives, ask yourself, are you integrating your mind, your bodies, and your spirits? Not only do those three mental health issues impact on hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, aggregated, we now have data to show that they can cause heart disease. They can cause diabetes. Here's one showing you depression and cardiac mortality. On the right-hand side, these are cardiac patients on the right. Look at this closely, because if this doesn't get you straight in terms of looking at your mental health, then it will. This is looking at cardiac patients on the left side. The blue line is if somebody gets a minor depression that's not treated, their risk of dying from a heart attack goes up 1.5. If they have a major depression, that's the pink line, that's not treated, it goes up 3 times. But look at the other one. These are non-cardiac patients that do not have any depression. None of the cardiac risk factors have ever had a heart attack. If they have a minor depression that's not treated, it goes up the same as the cardiac patient, 1.5. And if they have a major depression that's not treated, it goes up 4 times. Major. All of this I'm talking about is preventable. Chronic illness can be delayed and prevented. Look at these stats. This ought to get you motivated, people. This ought to motivate you. 80% of the cases of heart disease can be prevented. I showed you the deaths. There are 2.3 million deaths in this nation, in the United States, every year. 2.3 million. Half of them are from heart disease and cancer. So if you are not living daily lives trying to prevent your getting heart disease or cancer, you're not focused. You're not paying attention. And you're not trying to save your very own life. 80% of diabetes, you can see 90% of cases of cervical cancer, that's going up. Not only the past year that they diagnosed with precancerous, we now have the first vaccine for cancer, cervical cancer vaccine. The causes, you know the causes, lack of access, broken healthcare system, unequal treatment, poor quality. I spent most of my career dealing with those two things to try to change. But look at all the rest of them. And today, though, I want to focus on the bottom one, which is lifestyle. The CDC said a few years ago that if they looked at the 4 top determinants of health, what's going to really determine whether you're healthy or sick? Heredity is about 20% in yellow. The red is environment, that's about 20%. You know, the secondhand smoke, asbestos, pesticides. Medical care was about 10. Of course, they said, and you know this, that lifestyle is the biggest thing. So again, I want you to really create this personal revolution starting today and for the rest of your life. Focus on your health and your wellness. I can't think of anything that's more important for you and for your generations and everything you're trying to do if you don't focus on this. I'm going to read from my book. All of you know that I co-authored the book, Black Women's Health. This is by John Travis. Wellness is a choice. That's the first thing. It's a choice. You make the choice, a decision you make to move toward optimal health. Now remember, this is not something that's static. See, probably most of you in here have advanced from where you were 5 years ago in a big way. The fact of the matter is you have to keep moving. You know, people say, well, I'm exercising 30 minutes a day, I got it down. All right, good. But now you're so good at that, let's do another one. Let's do some strengthening. Let's do some other things. So it's a continuum toward good health. Okay? It's always in motion. Wellness is a way of life, a lifestyle you designed to achieve your highest potential for well-being. Wellness is a process. Developing awareness that there is no end point, but that health and happiness are possible in each moment, here and now. Wellness is an efficient channeling of energy. Energy received from above, transformed within you, and sent on to affect the world outside. Wellness is the integration of body, mind, and spirit, the appreciation that everything you do and think and feel and believe has an impact on your state of health. Wellness is the loving acceptance of yourself. Very powerful word. And in fact, I hope that that really does motivate you. My challenge to you, well, first before I go to that, I wanted to see if I had time. I think I had time to tell my favorite story about Nick Gregory. We were on a TV show, a BET show, Black Entertainment Television. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. The topic was wellness in the DC area. So we had an in-studio audience and was called in. So we had gotten a number of calls about drive-by shootings. So this is after we've been doing a lot of talking about health and wellness and prevention. So on the third call, they said, I'd like to talk to the caller. And he said, well, first of all, why are you sitting there in your living room watching us on TV? Why aren't you somewhere exercising? He said, I think you sound like a couch potato. So that's the first thing you need to change. He said, now are you sitting there smoking? And I said, yes. He said, do you have a little taste of Johnny Walker Red's at this time? I said, yeah. He said, do you have your big greasy rag out wiping off that greasy little ribs you had for dinner? Yeah, I think it's really hard nutrition. The way that answered that. He said, well, you mean to tell me you're worried about a bullet? Because the man said he had bars on his window, bars on his door. A little bullet coming in through the bars on your window, the glass on your window, into your living room and killing you when you had locked yourself up in there with all the killers. So my challenge to you today is to really begin to focus and become a revolutionary you. When you leave here today, I want you to look at yourself as in the midst of a radical change in your life and health and wellness, and develop habits of health. Habits of health. See, we have habits of disease. Okay? We have to change. That's why it's so hard for us to do this. I know, listen, I'm not standing here like I got it all solved. I'm struggling too with various is very difficult. That's why we don't start with our children as young as possible. Okay? Because remember, when they were little, somebody stuck a toothbrush in their hands, and they brushed their teeth. We do that every day. No, if we don't feel right, we don't. Because that is a wonderful habit of health that started when we just barely cold. Just got some teeth. Okay? Habits of health. The first habit is to get focused. We are not focused, people, on our health. We're not. We are not. I travel all across the country. Our health priority is way down here. We have 5 million other priorities in front of us. Get focused on that and act on your knowledge. You know what you should be doing for the most part. You're constantly increasing that. The piece of that is the action. Sow a thought and reap an act. Sow an act and you reap a habit. Sow a habit and reap the character. Sow a character and reap a destiny of good health. Second habit number 2 is put yourself and your health first. I know how hard this is for all of us, especially the women in the audience. Because I think we have a C gene, caretaker gene. Look, we're so busy taking care of God and everybody that we can't take care of ourselves. And until we do that, until we do it, it's going to be very difficult to be healthy. We have to stop feeling guilty about doing it. We have to stop feeling selfish about doing it. And there are all kinds of techniques that we go through when we help them. There are 3 things I'll just share with you that will help you think that through. The first one is you remember to put your mask on first. That's what they say when you get on these airplanes. You put it on yourself before anything else. Also, I want you to remember that the heart, when the blood comes to the heart, it's oxygenated. Before it sends any blood out to the body, it grabs its oxygen first. Okay? Because it knows it can't keep pumping if all the oxygen goes out to everybody else and it doesn't get in it. Third, Jesus taught us to love others as we love ourselves. We have to change that. Habit number 3, determine your risk factors. Determine your risk factors. I mean, there are a lot of general risk factors. Look at this. This is heart disease and stroke. Heart number 1 killer. All of these are controllable risk factors. It's in your hands. You can prevent this. Anything that's going to, one way to think about it, anything that's going to damage the lining of your blood vessels is going to put you at risk for heart disease and stroke. So nicotine does that. LDL cholesterol does that. Increased blood sugar does that. Increased blood pressure does that. Down at the bottom, inflammation does that. Homocysteine does that. All those things you have to avoid to protect your heart. Okay? And the book, as you know, goes through those things. If you focus on these major risk factors, you're going to make a big impact on preventing those big 4 killers that I just talked about: heart disease, cancer, diabetes. The 4th one is to practice prevention every day. We are not practicing, we don't wake up thinking about what we're going to prevent. So once you get your risk factors, those are the general risk factors. You have to determine what are your risk factors for heart disease. And then you have to practice every day figuring out how to reduce and eliminate those factors. Primary prevention means you don't want anything to happen. So you practice prevention to stop it. You don't smoke because you don't want lung cancer and heart disease. Okay? You don't want HIV, so you practice safe. Secondary prevention is, since you can't prevent everything, at least you can stop it from getting worse and causing premature death. The 5th one, I know this is the one all of you love and mothers is getting fit. Now, I really want you to talk to yourself seriously today and in the future throughout the meeting. What is the real excuse for your not moving more? This exercise is so important. All the reading I have done and what I know at this point, there was one thing that I would have everybody do first. It would be to get moving. It's the balm of Gilead. Exercise is going to impact on everything. Okay? Just 30 minutes of walking. 30 minutes of walking will cut your risk for a heart attack in half. Will cut your risk for stress and depression in half. Will cut your risk for diabetes in half. But then if you lose 10% of your weight, it'll go up to 65% decrease in your risk for diabetes. You cannot ignore these stats, people. You really can't. And I hope, I'm giving you all these because I hope that will act as motivators for you. Get a goal. Why herself. It was just, we all talked to her and tried to help her. Finally, one day, I saw her, she had lost all this weight, she had a new attitude, she was doing everything, really working and focusing on her health. I said, what happened? She said, Marilyn, I gotta go. She said, my goal was to dance at my great-granddaughter's wedding. That was her goal, and that motivated her to make some radical change in her life. Now, mind you, she didn't have any children, no grandchildren yet, but that's fine. That was her goal. Whatever your goal is, get one. Know the why of why you're doing this. Okay? All right. I hope your goal is to live as long as you can for whatever reason you want to do it. And certainly for the legacy of the family, I hope that is one. So look at your excuses. We keep making, I used to too. I never had enough time to exercise. Does that sound familiar? Is that the number one reason in here? I'm going to give you something to think about. Because this changed my life. I had an aha moment. In one 24-hour day, there are 48 half hours. You're looking for one half hour out of 48. Okay? Get up earlier. Get up half hour earlier. Turn mental off at night. Go to bed half hour earlier. You can do it. Get committed to do it. 6, manage your stress. Deep breathing, I've always told you, just do that through the day. Get a habit. It has to be a habit of deep breathing. It can really begin to decrease it. There's data that proves that it decreases your blood pressure, your pulse. It also decreases those toxic chemicals in your blood, the epinephrine, the corticosteroids, the insulin. You have to do that. Then all the other ones you know. Positive self-statements in the morning. I know everybody gets up in the morning. You have all these negative things you say, don't you? That stresses you. My hair is horrible this morning. Why did I get this dimple right here? What is this about? Everything is negative. Nobody wakes up with very few. Say, I am thankful I am a child of God. I am loved and I am loving. All these positive statements make a difference. You have to do that in the morning before you leave, because if you ever hear with the Reverend Renita Williams, she tells you, honey, you have to do that because when you leave, the Babylonians are waiting on you. And one time I said that in a meeting, a woman stood up and she said, Dr. Gaston, I have to do that before I go to the breakfast table because I live in some Babylonians. Friendships with healthy, positive people, they are mounting more and more about the impact of the people in your life on your health. And you know, some of us were born to people that stress us. Some of us gave birth to people that stress us. Some of us married people that stress us. There's not much we can do about that. But why do we bring in all these other people into our lives that stress us? Habit number 7, eat to live. We live to eat. And Thanksgiving and Christmas is the worst time in trying to talk about this. But you all, every day, I hope you all have certain things that you focus on. Not only the water. By the way, you should be drinking half your weight in water in ounces. Okay? I'm convinced you need a little glass of wine every day. The resveratrol has been proven to really, and now they just proved recently that it increases longevity in rats, so that we need a lot more data on that. But resveratrol is getting more and more information around the value of it. And you know the fishes, and you know all of that, okay? But I want you to see that food is preventive, so that when you go shopping, change the paradigm of what you're in there doing. Not only buy the cheapest thing that you like. Okay, that's how we shop in the past. But really look at how many of the foods I buy are high in antioxidants that I can eat every day. Increasing your lycopene, your sulforaphane, all of those things. Actually, those foods prevent cancer, and you should be eating them on a regular basis. 8, be a partner with your healthcare team. Remember, you hire us. Okay? You decide who you want for the right car, then I think we need the right healthcare team. And we need a broad healthcare team. You need a healthcare team that includes not only the conventional, the internal medicine, OB/GYN, but you need the complementary alternative medicine group. All of that should be integrated. Get your acupuncturist. I couldn't live without the massage therapist. Get your herbologist. All of these folks, and then you communicate with both of them, and that's all part of your team. Let everybody know on your team who's on it. Okay, so that the one who's prescribing hypertension knows what the herbologist might be doing and vice versa. And quit giving all of your power to the healthcare team. That's enough said about that. 9, remember health is holistic. And you'll hear that over and over. That's one of the great things about this meeting. Is again, it's one of the few meetings where that is focused on. That is focused on in terms of nourishing our spirits. And the data on prayer are just increasing by leaps and bounds. We knew the value of prayer, but now we have clinical trials and scientific data supporting this. And number 10, live every day in health and wellness. And since this is so difficult, Dr. Porter and I mentioned this before, we just started the Primetime Sister Circles. We've been doing that for about 2 years to help African American women make these changes, because it's such a process. In fact, this past year, we just won the Purpose Prize. And I want to just take a minute to talk about, because I want Francis nominated for that this year, and they're calling for nominations this year, okay? The first year was last year, and to be eligible, you have to be over 60. I won't ask Francis that she qualifies. But I know you're surprised that I did. So you have to be over 60. You have to be doing something that's making a difference in this world. And you have to be doing something that's different from what you did in the past. But they're looking for this whole group, Civic Ventures. So go on the web, civicventures.org. They have started a revolution to change the way that the country looks at people in the second half of our lives. We're such a youth-oriented culture that nobody appreciates our older people who have gotten to be thrown people, and so they're trying to change that. And so they gave us rates that comes with $100,000 and a lot of visibility. It was, the New York Times had a full page spread, it was USA Today, et cetera, et cetera. So we got this because we have wonderful results with our women. This is a group of our women. Aren't they look bad? I'm going to end, as I always do, with the poem at the back of the book that starts our last chapter in the book, which is called Reaching the North Star. This is a poem by Becky Berger called Poem for Flight. There will come a day, it's not far off now, when you wake in the morning and know that you were meant to be happy and healthy. That you wanted more than you want things or memories or any concrete place called home. More than all the strings of the past that fasten you. You wanted more than you want justice or pride or even your old play image of yourself. It is you who hold the power to change. And whatever it is that holds you, whatever it is you think you can't live without, the time has come to open your hands and let it go. Run, flee, disappear, break loose, take wing, fly by night, move like a meteor, be gone. If you fear it will never be possible, just think of Harriet Tubman, who traveled alone the first time, who finally freed 300 slaves. But first, she had to free herself. There's a Harriet in each and every one of you, and the time has come today for the rest of your life to find and free her. Thanks a lot.
Take the Nassau County Police Test. Call 1-800-RECRUIT for more information.
5 senses. The circle right here with the body is your 5 senses. And your other 2 senses are dealing with your mind and your spiritual self. And those are the things that were throughout this conference that was spoken about. And what I have to tell you is that those are some of the 7 principles of the Kemetic book, the Kabbalion. So we have to, once again, understand that we have to go back to our ancient knowledge in ancient Egypt that was what we practiced before we were put here in this country into slavery.
I'm alumni of Stony Brook University. We're here in El Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, and I'm representing ASAP, the Association for the Social Advancement of People nonprofit. And what we do with ASAP is we teach financial literacy to children. Our aim is to eventually raise a generation of financially literate minority children who will go out there and pursue their dreams without money being a hindrance. Our mission right now is to pretty much work with the youth and give them a solid understanding, teaching different principles in regards to money management and financial literacy, so that when they do encounter things like credit cards and loans and so on and so forth, they'll know what they're getting into, as opposed to like our generation and generations before, who just got into it with a level of ignorance and end up being 22 years old and over $12,000 in debt. Right now, we are the only nonprofit that is teaching financial literacy to foster care youth in New York City, and we just have a bright future ahead of us. We're working with the School of Social Welfare. You could reach me personally at 646-623-1627. Once again, that's 646-623-1627, or at asapnfpinc@gmail.com. Thank you.
President of substance abuse and things that we do in HRDI to help people. Not only are we in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois, we're in Washington, Alabama, Boston, Mississippi. What we do is to help people who have no place else to turn. We also have an alternative school. And when you think in terms of the number of children each year put out of public school because of drugs, because of fighting, because of guns, what do? We take them in and we change their lives. And every one of us here today came to the conference to see how we can help other people, how we can have these kinds of programs translated across the country.
And your name is?
My name is Marion Hume. I'm Vice President of Governmental Relations for Human Resources Development Institute, a 32-year organization whose budget is $48 million and perhaps the largest African-American behavioral health organization in the United States of America.
I concur.
Now you concur, but why is there a need? Dr. Leary coined a phrase which has been out there called post-traumatic slavery disorder. Now, are you telling me that that's a true phrase as it manifests itself in the individuals that your organization services?
Not necessarily. We service all people. We service people who come to the door. Black, white, Hispanic, all people who come to the door. Yes, there are special problems in the African American population. And we have the cultural competence to work with whatever group that is there. And so what happens is that if you present yourself at the door of HRDI, we will help you. And you ask help, we will help you. We talk about saving children. For instance, for the last 20 years, we have had a program for low-risk infants and children. In these 20 years, we have not lost one child, because what we have done is provide the direction, the help, the support for the mothers from prenatal on through school age for children. And we'll continue to do that.
Now, oftentimes when we see organizations such as yours there is no remedy for the single dad. What type of programs have you implemented for the single dad?
Well, first of all, what we have is two things, and Joanne.
Yes, we could, in addressing that, one of the things, there is a remedy for the single dad, because one of the things we do is educate the single fathers but we help to pull out the potential in those single fathers so they can recognize who they really are. A lot of times for single dads, they're lost in between when we talk about addiction, the criminal justice system. When they're lost in that, usually it's because of some effect that life has had on them. So they've been put down and not made to think that they can reach certain goals. So what we do at HRDI, we don't only treat the man, we also treat his purpose. We have to raise that purpose up on the inside to help him to realize who he really is, what he was created for, and then we have to motivate him to get back out in society to be the best he can and create something for somebody else.
And I would like to add on to that as well. In dealing with the males, we not only deal with their substance abuse or alcoholism, we deal with the symptoms. And the symptoms, underlying the symptoms is usually basically when they're growing up as young men, young boys, self-esteem, being a black male in society. So we try to instill back to them identity and self-esteem, and after that, we can work on the symptoms or the substance abuse problems that they may have. Also, we believe in bringing families back together. We believe in working in not just dealing with the men, but bringing the wife and the family as well and unifying them back together. So it can be a holistic program.
And what is your success rate?
Our success rate is very high. In fact, statistically speaking, we have just did a survey on that, and we have 94%. Okay. So our rate is very high. We're seeing positive things happening, bringing it back into our community, and we're making a difference, and we're seeing a difference.
So you have job placement, educational assistance programs, and all that?
Yes, we do. And in fact, when the person first come into our program, when they're first admitted, when we do their assessment, we work on aftercare planning the first day that they come into it. Because what's the purpose of bringing a person into a treatment or therapy, and they could do well those 90 days or 6 months or a year, but then when they leave, they go back into the same environment to go back to do the same thing because they don't have anything else to do. So we work with all of it as a holistic approach.
So now nationally there's an effort of, I guess what you would call gentrification. You know, in Harlem 20 years ago, you could buy a brownstone for $1. Now they are $1 million. I know that's happening in the south side of Chicago. Are you guys prepared to deal with that?
It's happening all over Chicago. And we are aware of that, and we're working diligently on that right now as we speak. But we are aware it's very prevalent. Very prevalent. Especially not just on the south side of Chicago. The west side, all over. And we are aware of, and we're working diligently, counteracting a lot of it.
Now, what's your website in case people want to find out more about your organization?
Go ahead, this is .org.
Say that louder.
www.hrdi.org.
It's all small letters.
All small letters. Hi. I just wanted to mention that we address all populations. We have an adolescent program for young females with substance issues from the ages of 12 to 17. We deal with women. We have programs with women and children. We have programs with men that are under the criminal justice system. We have an array of programming. We have mental health services. We have a number of programs to try to assist in every capacity holistically. I think I want to talk about the Chicago Girls program because that is a very special program because
because we're talking about young ladies from the ages of 12 to 17 that suffer from drug and alcohol. And these young ladies, they present opposition to quiet behavior. They've been kicked out of school. They're bored. They have a number of issues that have not been addressed. And they are very precious. They got set on the wrong way to live. And we put a whole lot of work into helping them. I just really want to talk about, programs that we do have to kind of touch base all over with substance abuse.
We also deal with prevention programs, which is we have a Teen Reach program in which we work with youngsters in schools, starting with elementary school through high school. We have a summer camp program, and we involve them in mentorship programs and in positive activities. And in that way, we forestall them from becoming involved in the criminal justice or in substance abuse. And again, we have had a good success rate with dealing with young people. We also have an outpatient program for youngsters who have substance abuse problems, so that they come to us after school and we work with them there, as well as in some of the schools. We work in these programs in several of our other cities. For instance, in Alabama, we have for the mentally
Take the Nassau County Police Test. Call 1-800-RECRUIT for more information.
invited us to Washington, D.C., and we're also dealing with the mentally retarded. In the state of Nevada, in Las Vegas, we're dealing with the mentally ill. We provide housing, and we are trying to rehabilitate them and making sure they have treatment so they can be useful members of society. Right now we're looking at Boston. We've been invited to come and take a look to see what we can do to help them with the substance abuse program.